Hey, T Stanley back here. Cheers for joining me. I haven't made a sort of music related video or posted a video for a little while related to music and production and all that stuff. So I just want to share something that I guess a few ideas that I've been kind of exploring and experimenting with lately. Just the concept of taking a simple Midi input of something like a single note and then trying to manipulate and transform that into something more complex and interesting. Just through, I'm using Bitwig obviously here, and Bitwig's got a bunch of note Midi devices that you can use to sort of transform and manipulate the Midi. So basically that's the idea here. I'm looking at a few different ideas combined to make something interesting and just give people some ideas that would be, fruitful for them to explore and experiment with. So you could take this in a few different directions, but in this particular case I'm just looking at a simple synth. I've just got this transpluck preset taken up with the polysynth here. I'm just using straight up Bitwig native devices in this scenario, but you can probably explore it with other VS2s, and I'm pretty sure you could probably do something similar in other DAWs as well. Just may not be as sort of streamlined as how it is with Bitwig in this case, but I'm sure there's probably ways you can use several MIDI tracks to send MIDI to single instruments and so on. But I like how Bitwig's implemented this with several devices, which I'll get into and demonstrate. I'll take it back from the start. We'll just build it from scratch. So we'll just clear this. We've got a blank instrument channel now. First thing I like to do with empty channels, tracks, what have you, inside of Bitwig is to use the chain device firstly. This acts as like a nice macro container kind of device that you can, save your chains as presets. So it's just nice and conducive to workflow, so you can use the modulation system from this point throughout the entire chain that you decide to create. So it's just a nice starting point. So from there, we're going to add things into this chain. So the really interesting device that is going to allow us to explore these ideas is this note effects layer device, which I'm not so sure if other DAWs have something similar. Basically this lets you stack or MIDI note effects, and you can use them in parallel with each other, which is pretty handy, and like it opens up a whole range of possibilities. So inside of this we're going to put in some arpeggiators. So we'll drop in, we'll go for 3 at this point. Now the idea here is to differentiate these 3 arpeggiators so they're all spinning out different MIDI information all simultaneously, that's driving a single sort of polyphonic instrument, So we'll do that. We'll just sort of tweak a few of these. The beauty of this arpeggiator is it can function as a step sequencer as well, so you can just create interesting sort of step sequences. You don't have to hold multiple notes to create these arpeggios. So the idea, I guess, because we're running several of these together, just to sort of bear in mind, keep the note selections and choices harmonically related. If you get too if you get too carried away, it can end up sounding a little awkward and clashy. So it tends to work well when you keep the intervals really kind of harmonically close together, like harmonic perfect fifths, octaves. They tend to work really well. Thirds, depends on what scale you're in obviously, but sort of keep it simple will yield pretty pleasing results. So we'll just start with that. You can differentiate these, and this is the whole idea, is to explore this, you know, and just play with the different parameters, you know. So you can set this second one, we'll change the step length on this to maybe 5 steps, so, and the third one we'll change the steps down to 7, so that way the patterns are going to shift and dance around each other and not repeat. Well, they will eventually, but you'll get these interesting kind of weaving patterns that, like I said, they shift around each other. So you've got the re-trigger option, which is quite handy. So if you turn it off on maybe 1 or 2 of the instances, each time you re-trigger a note, the pattern will kind of transform and it will sound a little different, you know, so you're not getting these repeating patterns. You can, I guess this is more, you know, these arpeggiation behaviors are probably only more useful once you're holding multiple notes as input, which we're not sort of doing, I suppose. We're taking simple input of a single note. But you could sort of use the number of octaves, like the range of the arpeggiator. It will have some effects, so we'll punch some different notes in here. Go for an octave, something like that, and then the third one will just create another pattern. Okay, so obviously we're going to want some sort of instrument, so we'll just take the polysynth again, and we'll take that trance pluck preset. So this is quite nice. So straight off the bat, I'm not sure what's going on, but we're getting some difference in the timing of these arpeggiators. So what I found is if you just turn each of these off and then back on, it brings them all back into like being re-triggered together, which is what we want. I'm not sure what's going on there, but that's just something I found. But so we start to hear these patterns that this is creating. So we're kind of getting these harmonic. We're getting multiple notes together because of the 3 arpeggiators, which is creating chords and, you know, harmonies. So turn the re-trigger off on this one as well. If we go for dotted 8th notes on this one, perhaps. So it can be nice to play those velocity step values as well. Just make sure your preset has velocity sensitivity inside the patch. So just punch in a few of those. And you can play the gate length, so just explore those parameters and the arpeggiators, and you can get all sorts of patterns. And that's where the fun is, just exploring. So over here, I'm going to increase the velocity sensitivity. So you can hear that slow, it's quite nice. It's useful for like ambient and trance kinds of synth sounds, you know. You can get these kind of evolving patterns and textures and so on. It's useful for that sort of stuff. explore that. You can take it further and add more of these note effects. So we can put the note delay on one of these, and then just tweak some of these values, so this delay is going to give us sort of, it's going to allow you to offset the notes, so you can create a shuffly groove and swing and so on by using these. And it can be a nice useful way to create shuffle and groove in your patterns, and without resorting to the actual global groove and quantization settings. So I guess another useful idea, which you could use this idea to drive a drum sampler, for instance, a drum machine. Each of these arpeggiators could drive a particular pad or sound, and then you could use this note delay then to create your groove and shuffle or swing that way. So there's just some ideas to explore. If you're going to draw on the modulation system, you could probably take this patch further and add some LFOs to modulate some of these synth parameters, like the filter cutoff or the envelope modulation depth of the filter. And decay or release times are obviously good candidates, but yeah, it's just worth exploring. You can get some very cool sounding synth lines. So this has just been a short, sort of simple video. I hope it's kind of, insightful in some sense. So I'm going to wrap it up, and hopefully, it's interesting and useful to someone else. You can get some good ideas to go and explore and get creative with. So thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll have some new videos coming soon. So yeah, till then, take care.